When I make these videos, I like to read the comments. And I read all of them. I like people sharing their perspectives and their personal journeys, the things that they believe in, the things that they're scared of, the things that they're worried about, their successes and their failures. It's all very interesting to me, because I think that the first step to creating like the online community or do my part to, kind of find my place in art in the grand scheme of things, like what it means to even be an artist and what it means to share art. It's like a dialogue between two people or two community. It's when you make art, it's like proof that you existed. It's it's an eternal expression of how you felt at that moment in time, and it's a beautiful thing. It really is. And it's interesting because like some of the comments I see are, rightfully so, they're very vulnerable. Some of them sometimes are very negative. Not to me specifically, but it's just like their perception of what art is to them and whether or not it's worth pursuing based on their personal experience with their journey up to that point. And I think it's valid to have your thoughts. I think that if you feel something, then you feel it. And to not acknowledge how you feel is just, it's a fool's errand. If you're upset, you're upset. If you're sad, you're sad. If you're happy, you're happy. Excited, excited. Like, you are who you are, and feelings are the first sign of your internal, you know, voice that we all have. I think the biggest thing that, in my opinion, that I felt myself as a perfectionist is pursuing art in an earnest and honest way. Excuse me. I think that it's not that we fear failure, we just fear success. We fear what it means to truly be vulnerable with those around us. We fear what people will think of us if we honestly pursue our crafts. Because when you don't care about something, like, you can kind of, throw it to the side. You can say it's garbage. You can say that, oh, it's just a sketch, or it's not that serious, it's not that deep. But when you're truly making the art that you want to make, or you're just on the path to making that said art, it is that deep. It is vulnerable. And for a lot of us, it's the reason why we stop. You put your heart into something and then it's just not validated or seen or recognized, or someone tells you that you're wrong or you're doing it incorrectly, or there's just no way a beginner like you will ever succeed. It hurts. I think a lot of us are scared of what it means to truly put yourself into the things that you do, not just with art, but just in relationships, in life, in your dreams and passions, and your relationships. Like, it's hard to care. It's very difficult to knowingly face something, knowing it eventually will hurt you in some way. And art obviously is no exception. And you know, from my personal experience, like, yeah, I mentioned in a previous video that, like, probably at this point I've probably drawn for about 8 years now, but I've probably drawn for the past 4 years more consistently, like almost near daily. But up until that first point, in the first like 4 years, I hated it. I absolutely hated making art. I feel like at the time, I was isolated in a military situation, so I didn't have access to Wi-Fi or, any other really hobby when I was on mission and stuff like that. And so all I could do was, draw, with no experience, no art school, no one was endorsing me to do it. I just wanted to get into something that was just not required of my duty station. And I was bad. I remember I probably spent like 2 days trying to draw a coffee mug, because that was just one of the only reference things I could see at the time that was, accessible. And I drew it probably at least like 15 times, and I could not get the perspective right. I couldn't get the curvature of the cup, and like, it was tough. It was really tough. I had to take a lot of breaks, and a lot of the time I was like, man, I'm not cut out for this because I'm not talented. I wasn't able to do it on my first try or even my 17th try. Therefore, I must not be an artist, you know. But you know, the biggest, uh, the funniest part of the story, I feel like, was I think again, so like right, my 20th try or whatever, I drew it, and I felt like, you know, at least for me, that was the best thing I ever drawn at that time. And a coworker or shipmate, he sat next to me. He was like, "Oh, that's like a telescope or something." Like, he meant that, he did not mean that in any way. He did not mean that to hurt me. He did not mean that to, you know, spite me in any way. But I was hurt, you know, like, you know, my first thought was like, you have no idea how much effort I put into this, you know, like I didn't have to do this. And the first thing you that comes out of your mouth is what I presume is like a slight to me. And that's not what he meant at all. He just he just told me his thought unprompted, but like he was just being honest, you know? And, but it hurt a lot. And over the years, like I've drawn a portrait of my wife and she's like, "Oh, who's that? That doesn't look like me at all." Spent weeks on it, man. Um, it hurts, man. Like it's from, it's not that people are always trying to hurt you. Rarely are people actually trying to attack you, especially with your own art anyway. But unless you're on Twitter, I guess. But it hurts to care. You know, we live in a very nonchalant culture. We live in a, you know, especially like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, millennials, even like we live in a culture where it's cool not to care. You know, the first person to text is the weakest. The first person to express their emotions is vulnerable. You know, if you're not alpha, you're nothing. You know, like if you cry, you're a pussy. You know what I mean? It's our culture is built in a way where the human expression is not valued as much as maybe it was prior to, or as we like to think it should be, or it ought to be. And that's tough. It really is. But, you know, especially with like, not just with AI, but just with like the way the corporate structures are now, like, you know, finding a creative job in the way that we assumed it would be like maybe like 10 years ago, it's just not the same. I remember I was playing League of Legends and I saw the splash art for Riot Games, and you know, I really wanted to be a Riot Game splash art artist, splash arts artist, you know? And I realized that, okay, well, starting from nothing and no formal training, I have a long way to go because those art pieces are incredible. I've seen the speed paints, I've seen the channels, I follow the art stations. Like, these people are 20, 30-year industry professionals. Not that I can't do it, but it's going to take me a very long time of consistent practice to even get anywhere near that level, you know? Does that mean I just can't do it or it's not worth my time? I don't know. But it is very demotivating to think that I had a future in this creative field, and like, but when I look into it, it's just not realistic. And then for some people, that's enough to for them not to draw anymore. That's enough for them to just be like, let me just get like an engineering job and call it a day. Not that you can't do both, obviously, but like, you know, like sometimes reality slaps you in the face and reminds you that like your creative passions mean nothing to nobody, you know. But it's not true. It's all lies, you know. Because when we live pragmatically, when we live like in a very objective focused way where there's just no point to anything, all it is to make money, then we die, it's like there's more to life. There really is. And I know it's cool to, you know, be like, hey, you know, I don't care, like I hate my mom. But yes, look, yes, we all deal with different things in our own ways. We all have our own personal stories, but that's what makes art great. It's the fact that none of us are necessarily special in any way, but we're all unique in the way that we experience life. Your reality is not my reality. The things that make you excited or depressed or angry or excited aren't the same things that make me feel those same things, you know? And only through self-expression can we communicate those emotions, honestly. And, you know, I feel like it's very lost in our generation, you know? If we just keep this up, like, not that all art will be dead. I'm sure, obviously, like, the world's a very vast place, but at least in our communities, like, no, if art isn't valued by us, it will not be valued by anybody. It's up to us, creative people. And even if you're not necessarily a creatively skilled person and you don't want to invest in that specific skill of yours, invest in other people. You don't have to buy their art, but just tell them, hey, I like what you did. It's interesting. It's cool. Hey, you know, you didn't know at that time, but like the previous one you did was fantastic. You know, keep that up. Or hey, that's a cool like style choice you made. Like, I like to see more of that. It's those small comments that cost you nothing. to care, to just imagine there's someone else behind the screen. You know, there's nothing wrong with admitting that you're hurt and that it's hard and that you may have gave up for a while. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be stoic. You don't have to be emotionless. You don't have to be alpha. You don't have to be this unmovable emotional object. Even if you've given 10 years to art and it has given you nothing back, I understand that's hard, man. That's tough. And if you truly quit, that's your prerogative. But if you are quitting and you feel as though like you haven't completed what you wanted to complete in your journey to self-expression, then it's worth it to keep going. I don't know what your life looks like in the creative light for you specifically. And I don't know what mine looks like either. But I do know that if you don't pursue it, or you think that there's no value in it, or you think that you're truly just, a cog in the machine, like, you're going to die with regrets. You're going to look back 5 years from where you're at now, or at least in the future or whatever, and like you're going to have wish that you kept going. Even if it was in a very casual way. But the creative spirit doesn't just leave. It's who you are. It's who we are. It's what this is all about. It's important for everyone, but especially you, that you are valued. Yes, you may have given 8 years to art, and you may have felt like you achieved nothing. You may have felt like your skill stagnated, that no one cared. I care. I care that you keep going. I'm nobody to you. I'm just telling you that as a fellow human, I understand the pain. I understand what it's like to not be understood, to communicate your creative feelings and not be reciprocated. It's hurtful, especially when it's from people close to you. But it's just part of the journey. It makes you more resilient and stronger. It makes you more selective of the people you keep around you. It helps you reflect on the things that truly matter to you. Pain isn't a signal of you're doing something wrong. It means that you're growing. If you live a life of no pain, you're not growing. You're just existing. Like, just because you exist doesn't mean you're living. If you had started art at some point, it means something to you. It may not be the only thing you care about. It may be like the last thing you care about. It means something. You do care a little bit. And that little bit matters. You gotta keep going. I know the future is bleak. I know everywhere we turn, it seems like the nation is falling apart. The world is at war. The robots win. Terminators destroy us all. I get it. But in the off chance that it doesn't, and you kept going, imagine what kind of future it could be. Imagine the colors. Imagine the stories shared. Imagine the history you can share with your children or to other artists who want to start but have no motivation or have no idea where to go. Imagine being able to share your journey with them. Or even yourself. I was cleaning my house the other day and I saw an old sketchbook, probably like 5 years ago. The art was not good, but I remember what it was like to be there and where I'm at now. It's an amazing feeling. It's something that you cannot fake it. You can't fake your love for the creativity, like the creative energy, I guess. It's just part of who you are. So, yes, if you feel like it's not worth pursuing, hey, that's unfortunate, but I'm telling you, I believe it is. I believe that you care a little bit. I believe that we all care a little bit. I believe that the world can be a better place. Fight on. Stick it through. Be the one. Be one of them. Be the people that you can look up to. Be the artist you aspired to be when you were younger. Or even when you're older. If you think you're past your prime, it's like, okay, well, just act like you were started when you're young. You know what I mean? Act like you still have that spirit and you'll be surprised. You are capable of any creative journey you want to be on. When you truly meet someone new and they're a stranger to you that once was up until that point, the things that they're into, the sports, the stories, the writings, the books, the games, like the mission, like the life they've been on, it's incredible. You get to learn so much about people when you just stop and listen. And we can learn so much about you, and you can learn so much about me through our creative expressions. I matter, you matter, we all matter, and it takes all of us to work this community out. There's a lot of hate. There is a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of scare, there's a lot of fear mongering. There is a lot of reasons why you should hate art, honestly. I had to limit my art intake online because it's just a lot of it is just very toxic. A lot of it is very aggressive and brutal, especially for younger artists to younger artists. It's artist on artist crime, to be honest. But it's all us, and it takes a whole tribe to make something. It takes a whole city to make something, And I don't think art is worth just dropping just because it's inconvenient. I don't think that it's worth throwing away just because, you know, we can't see a future. It's like you know, in my opinion, working in an industry or money, like honestly, it kind of kills the creative spirit internally. Like, yeah, of course you're employed and like you've reached like that goal, but like, what does art mean to you? Like we can all draw a tree. If you task us all to draw a tree, we all would draw it differently, and that's the whole point. It's to understand each other. So like, yes, it's tough, man. It really is. But just be honest. You gave up because it's hard, or you're continuing and it's tough, or you've been doing it for 10 years and you don't know where to go, or you feel like you're on top of the world, but you're scared of falling off, you're scared of regressing, or whatever. Like, there's nothing wrong with being honest. And in my opinion, transparency and honesty is how we get through this. It's, we will figure this out. There is a future, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There will be more and more plagues to the artist community going forward. It's guaranteed. That's not the point, isn't that we have a cure for every single ailment that ails the community. It's the fact that we are honest and we tell each other when it's hard and we motivate each other to keep going. Just casual comments, just liking someone's channel, or just anything. Honestly, like, it does not take much to be a little kinder and to be honest. So I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say or what I'm trying to convince you to do or what I'm trying to convince myself to do, but I just feel like there are powers at play that are beyond us. And I think that there's a bigger problem that we all have a part in to resolving, or at least investing into. And don't give up. There is a tomorrow. Who you are and what you are today and all the regrets that you have, it's not your story. It's part of it, but it's not the ending. And it's not the beginning. It's just you're walking your daily walk. And that's enough. Your best is good enough. You trying is enough. You matter to people. You are an important part of this whole thing. You are uniquely made in the way that you are, and your personal experience it makes you very. It makes you have your only you can tell your story. We can't do it for you. So just keep those things in mind as you walk forward. Do what you got to do. Make the choices you make, and just be honest. But I think that there is a better tomorrow. And I'd like to see you win it too.